Are you ready to get provoked? You're listening to Can I Live, a show created to excite, ignite, and expose. Let's tune in with your host, R.W. Jones. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I feel like that I need to run that beat back again, but I am not the DJ, but I promise you sometime I'll play like the DJ. Thank you for tuning in to the Can I Live podcast, and I am very, very excited. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a very long time since we've been here, maybe a few months. Not something too major, but we had to definitely take a break, pause, regroup, find out what the heck we were doing, and then come back. But tonight, you guys, we are talking about the Build Back Better with the question mark. Like, is this really going to happen? Because how many stimulus packets have come? And I don't know about you, but outside of the PPP loans and definitely the stimulus packet that was passed in the Trump administration, that was the first time I've ever seen any type of government funding, to that degree. So kudos for, stimulus packets. Okay. But we're going to actually get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to pause this here and I'm going to pull up my stuff because you guys came in for the goods and I'm going to give it to you. And I'm not going to hold no punches. I'm not going to give you no whole bunch of fluff talk. I'm going to share my screen. I do want to preface of what I'm going to say. So if you're not like one of those people that like to chew up regulations, if you're not looking into, regs, I got to give a shout out to NCRC. It's the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. They are responsible. They're like the watchdogs to the banks, right? And so we were having a conversation and they have money to pay for people to be on their team to serve as analysts and all of this good stuff. So they were able to go through a line by line and had a spreadsheet and they shared it with us. And so I went through the spreadsheet and immediately I was seeing the holes and I was like, these dollars are not going to come into our local community. So I wanted to start the podcast so to kind of show you line by line, not the whole bill. Okay. We're just talking about the housing provisions of the bill. So mostly I want to say our bailiwick is HUD. So anything that has to do with HUD, we want something to do with. Why? Because Can I Live is a national public housing tenants association. So anything that has to do with HUD, we want something, we need to know about it. Anything that's going to impact families, we need to know about it. And so thank you to NCRC for, just sharing the details and empowering us with the information. We don't have large budgets, so we can't really afford to pay somebody to do this. But thank God that we do have it. And I just want to thank NCRC for providing this to us. So let me share my screen and let's just go through for those that are into, can y'all see my screen? Let me see. Share screen. Yep. Okay. So we will post this on our website as well. There's a link in the chat, Monette, if you could put that link also on Facebook. We are streaming live on Can I Live Inc. We will put this link there. Now, I believe this is the link for the whole entire bill. So during this conversation, I want you to find yourself. Meaning, if you are a small business owner, if you have an area that you work in, I want you to find yourself. And if you find yourself, then absolutely, give a high fives in the studio audience, raise your hand, give an applause or something. At least you can find yourself. If you cannot find yourself, it's okay, because I got the cricket music in the background and I'm going to play it. Because I want to know personally, how many of us will, let me just put crickets on deck, because it's going to be a lot of crickets, because I really got to know how many of us are positioned for these dollars. So let's just, so the first right at the top is public housing. And of course, as you can see, the implementing agency, most of these things here is going to be from HUD. Okay, period, end of story. So there's $65 billion. Okay, let's talk about this to fully address the capital needs backlog of public housing. And if you live in public housing, the deteriorating, the ceilings, the roofs, the pipes, all of that, it's not the housing authority's fault, you guys. Let's make that plain. It's not the housing authority's fault. Congress never gave HUD monies, and HUD couldn't give monies to the housing authority because Congress failed to appropriate those dollars to HUD so that HUD could make those dollars available to the housing authority. And so although we would love to complain and the housing authorities are on front line and have to take those complaints, it really wasn't the housing authorities' fault that our communities were deteriorated. It was Congress's fault. So it's your congressional representatives that you voted for, you didn't. Second, when you're talking about fully addressing the capital needs, number one, you're talking construction. You're talking overhaul, demolition. You're talking demolition, redevelopment of all kinds. It could be major gut where they just take the whole thing and just excavate it down to the ground and build up. It could be a total rehab where they take all the guts out and leave the structure there. But what comes to mind if you're thinking about the construction? You're thinking jobs. And if you know anything about public housing, HUD has a responsibility, which we'll talk about soon. And Section 3 is prevalent in this particular event. So what we're going to discuss is not only, here's the problem. Here's, first of all, follow the money. Here's the money, right? And from the money, let's talk about where the mistakes happened in Obama's administration with the American Recovery Reinvestment and how HUD failed to pretty much keep housing authorities honest in enforcing Section 3. We're going to cover that. Then we're going to talk about a solution. Because if you know anything about me or Can I Live or the fam or our team, we do not just harp on problems. We are all about that solution. And so I would have never even produced this podcast if it was not for the fact that we had a solution. However, we're going to see who really about this, what they call this whole, everybody and their mama got like, what they call them, the equity and inclusion folks. You done hired a whole team to go find out why ain't no Black people or no, working in your place. Okay, let's get back. I'm getting sidetracked, and I gotta slow down because I'm excited. And y'all know when I get excited, I start rushing and I'm just talking. So the first bid is $65 billion in construction. So, hey, y'all, if you, your mama, your auntie, your cousin, your grandma, your grandpa, if y'all got construction businesses of any kind, it could be landscaping, cleaning. It could be, electrician, HVAC, demolition, excavation, moving. Because guess what? Where you see all of this capital needs, in order for them to tear down a building, guess what? Do I need to play the crickets? The families have to move. So you're talking about massive, and the word displacement. So residents are about to be displaced across the United States, meaning they have to move because not every high rise or every development will allow you to live there while they do this reconstruction or redevelopment. So residents and families need to know, okay, redevelopment is coming to your community whether you like it or not, because that housing has to be done over. However, the issues is, will you get a piece of the pie, or will you just be okay with your stainless steel counter appliances? You might not even get that. You might get the cheap stuff at Lowe's and Home Depot. You might not even get no granite countertops, stainless steel. But maybe you're okay with that. And I would say that if you are disabled and elderly, then you should be okay with that. But if you are able-bodied working mom, and if you think that this money is going to come down and you just going to get a whole new Section 8 voucher, we're going to talk about that in a second. And this is just for you to lamp, then shame on you. This should not be for your lamping. This should be for your come up, for your motivation, for your legacy, for your wealth, for you and all your children in your house. I said chilling. All right. So 65 billion, let me get my highlighter here. I don't want to do that. 65 billion to address the capital backlog needs. Of these funds, 2.25 is provided to make comprehensive investments in public housing and surrounding neighborhoods. Well, first of all, we got to find out what this comprehensive investment actually mean. Is that monies that's going to be given to the city to make what kind of improvements? Is it parks and recs? What is that? And who has a say on what investment should be in your communities? So we need to find out And it's so difficult when it's so high up and it's so in the fine print. But I promise you, there are coffers, meaning there are entities already positioned with their bags out that when this money comes, they already positioned to get a whole bunch of it. And so I'm going to tell you why after $2 trillion, however $1,000,000 trillions they're about to spend, that we got to pay for with our taxes, you won't get a dime of it. I hope you will. I pray. I ain't gonna say you won't get. I'm gonna speak affirmative, and I'm gonna speak what I know. We will get it, but it will require strategic, intentional, deliberate action from both tenants and housing authorities and policymakers and other community-based organizations. If they say that they want to support an equitable, just society and economy, it is going to be imperative that some of these things are actually really monitored, and that facilitation of the access to the opportunities is actualized, manifested. So let's see. Home, affordable and accessible housing production. What I do know is public housing triggers Section 3, all of it, everywhere. Home funds trigger Section 3. But let's look at this. The investment in affordable and accessible housing production. I guess my question is, do you or anybody on this phone produce housing? Not the people I know. The people I know, residents ain't producing no housing. They live in a housing, but they don't produce the housing. Do you know who is producing the housing? Who is responsible for producing the housing in your area? Let's see, 10 billion for home investment partnerships program. Somebody need to find out what is that program. Who runs that program? To fund the construction, the purchase, and rehabilitation of affordable homes for low-income people. So you're going to see low-income people all throughout. Low income, because at the end of the day, yes, I believe this will move the envelope to provide more affordable housing. With 2 trillion, I think you could probably do a whole lot more. However, yes, low-income people will get affordable housing. However, the affordable housing should be an opportunity for you to do something while it's affordable. But affordable housing forever, okay, we could do that. We can absolutely do that, and we should do that. However, I'm talking to the business owners, the leaders, the entrepreneurs, those that are out there who trying to get a piece of this pie, but find it almost impossible. That's who I'm talking to, because there's a lot of us out there. Okay, let's talk about this. This is what y'all really want. The Section 8 vouchers. Let's talk about that. This section provides 24 billion to fund incremental. Now, anybody knows incremental means small, little teeny changes, housing choice voucher and supportive services. So they're probably not going to just dump a whole bunch of money in the pot for Section 8 vouchers, because why? They don't even have enough landlords to fill it. So we don't even have enough landlords in the pipeline. However, if you keep reading, of this fund, 7.2 billion is provided for individuals and families experiencing homelessness, and survivors of course, domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, etc. 300 million provided for competitive grants for mobility-related services, and 230 is provided for landlord incentives. Well, thank God. Now, I don't know what $230 million for landlord incentives looks like. It could be, I don't know, tax. It could be direct cash. It could be a plethora of things. We don't know just yet. At least maybe those details are in there. But if HUD is an implementing agency, they're also going to have to implement some rules as to which and how these funds will be dispersed. In most cases, not any of this stuff is not new. So the infrastructure is already there. However, there is money for HUD because HUD is going to be hiring. So if anybody wants to work for HUD, this is the time to get your resume real nice and polished. But they'll be hiring so many people, maybe anybody could get in there. Good luck with that. I mean, they got to hire somebody. So somebody gonna work there. They got a whole new budget. Let's see, down payment towards first generation down payment assistance. So if you are buying a house and you are a first generation homeowner, you will actually have access to this money. Now, here's the truth of the matter. If you are on public housing or Section 8 and you are not even working on credit or down payment assistance, whatever, the ones that will be best positioned are really residents in the family self-sufficiency program. Number one, they are working on home ownership goals. So 10 million to provide first-time, first-generation home buyers with at least $20,000 in down payment assistance, or 10% of the purchase price in an eligible home in financial assistance, including down payment costs, closing costs, costs to reduce the rate of interest. And of this amount, 500 million is provided for housing counseling agencies. So definitely NCRC, I already know they're going to get a nice little chunk, and whoever else provides HUD housing counseling, they're going to be able to apply. I guess, maybe it's a competitive grant, maybe it's not, but they'll be able to apply for that money. But then again, if you're not a housing counseling agency, you're not going to probably get access to 500 million. 500 million is a nice little piece of change. No one agency would get that. But still, do you see yourself yet in any of these dollars? Anything yet? I'll wait for it. Let's talk about lead paint. I was like, Lord, please don't let them put all of the people, don't let them put all our residents on the lead paint abatement program, the removal of the lead paint. And we in there dying of the lead paint. Because, they'll give you that. They'll say, hey, everybody pay you $100 an hour to go get all the lead paint out of all the old buildings. But either way, I hope not. I pray not. Let's see. Lead-based paint hazard control and housing-related health and safety hazard mitigation and housing of families with lower incomes. This section provides $5 billion to address lead paint and other health hazards in the housing stock in the United States. So find out, maybe you do remove lead paint. If not, go create a company, get extra mass and the whole NASA, gag, all of that hazmat stuff you got to get in there and get out the lead paint. Put the blood of Jesus on you, keep it moving. Get some of that money. Let's see. The LIFT program, I'm really not that familiar with, but it says it's $5 billion to subsidize 20-year mortgages for first-time home buyers. Now, again, I'm going to repeat for you guys who might not know, if you are on Section 8, you could buy your home. You would also probably be considered a first-time home buyer. And so, the $50 billion to subsidize 20-year mortgages, not really sure. LIFT, you need to be finding out who has LIFT, who is managing LIFT, where is this LIFT program, and how can you possibly, I don't know if you could duplicate from the down payment assistance, but down payment assistance typically sometimes comes from the city or local municipality or that county, but you got to follow this money. This money is going to be all over the place. And we want to make sure that just because it's all over the place, is the access still, is it accessible? Or is it now hooked up or tied up or stuck in these local governments and it's still like climbing, Mount Fuji just to get the money? Find out now before the money hits, because I promise you that money hit is going to be frenzy. Everybody and their mama going to have something, and it's going to get real. It's already noisy, but it's going to get really noisy. And you and your business, or you and whatever your firm offers, or your ideas, being able to get and cut across the noise is going to be very difficult once, the whole traffic jam happens. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about CDBG. Lot of money. So CDBG is one of those funds that city and local municipalities, states get to build infrastructure. So they're the bridges, the roads, the water pipes, anything that has to do with the only word I have is infrastructure. That's what they call it. How we ride on the roads, we drive under the bridges, we do all of those things under the ground. All of that construction, and sometimes it's real construction, a construction of a bridge, a construction of something created. So there's this section provides $3 billion for community development block grants. This section includes $700 million and $500 million to address the housing and community infrastructure needs of colonial and resident-owned manufactured housing communities, respectively, pretty much in that order. So, if you own a modular home somewhere, where is this money going? Definitely to the cities and the states. And it says the infrastructure needs of colonial and resident-owned manufactured housing communities. So we just need to find out, because if I know anything, I know how city and states run. I've worked for cities, I've worked for states, I've worked for congressional representatives, state general assembly. So I have seen the tricks of the trade. I was a housing authority commissioner. So I've been around and seen a couple of things, and I know right well the game on top of the game. And so just watch out for that. Let's see, you have 3 billion competitive grants to eligible local partnerships that are led by nonprofits to conduct affordable, accessible housing activities, neighborhood revitalization activities in rural, suburban, and urban localities, including neighborhoods experience cycles of blight and abandonment. That sounds like Baltimore all day. So I would definitely be looking, because it's some areas of just straight blight, but this is the CRRFs. We need to find out who is running that program. Of the amounts, 500 million is for the community land trust, shared equity home ownership programs. The truth of the matter is most of this money is going in, of course, is going into solid infrastructures that have the capacity to administer and manage, provide oversight for. Got that. However, are those firms going to be, I want to say, fair and equitable in their approach and ensuring those monies comes down to the ground? That's where it's going to be. It feels like the 3-card Molly. Like y'all said, the money was available, but when we come, it's like not available. Where the money at? Energy efficient. Let's see. This section provides $2 billion to establish a grant program for owners of federally assisted housing. So this is for like housing authorities. Housing, affordable housing to make energy efficient upgrades, including electrification of systems, appliances, installations of renewable energy types, and improve property resiliency. So this is kind of sort of feels like it's a little bit short of solar. So everything is kind of going as green as possible, as efficient as possible. So when all of this new redevelopment is coming in, there's also this new monies in the energy efficient side that is going to make these communities more sustainable. So if you're in the energy industry, you might want to find out, and I know there's one right across the street, and they may be best positioned for this money to be able to go and install solar, or and that could go underground. That could be a lot. That could be a whole host of things that is not my bailiwick. So I will not be trying to tell you where that money is going specifically. But if you are in anything energy, follow the money. All right, so now we got the rural rental. This section provides $2 billion to carry out new construction, make improvements to energy and water efficiency or climate resiliency, to remove health and safety hazards, and to preserve housing under Section 505, rural rental housing, and Section 516, farm labor housing. I believe that's 508. This section also includes, provides additional rental assistance to eligible households. So there's going to be a lot of housing created, and that means homelessness should reduce. That means that displacement should be at a minimum. But it depends if all of these things are happening at the same time. Okay, let's see. Unlocking possibilities, not really sure what that is, but it says 1.75 billion in grants to states, local governments, local entities, Native American tribes. Shout out to the Native American tribes. I see them in this bill a little bit. I hope they get some real love over there. Where are they? Let me play my focus. Where are the Native Americans? Where are they? Shame. This is from Commerce. Let's see. So, okay. I think I see something. I think we got action over here. 1.6 billion more to the Minority Business Development Agency. So that's an agency, of which 1 billion is provided to support business centers programs, minority business enterprises, entrepreneurship education, and nonprofits that support minority business enterprise. Can I live? Right there. Now we can probably get some of that. That means we got to follow Commerce. We got to follow this agency and get up on the Minority Business Development Agency and get up in there. So I hope somebody's writing that down somewhere out there. Because that's going to be an entity that we definitely gonna have to tap into. 400 million to establish regional offices perform research and evaluation and enhance administrative operations, and 200 million is provided to establish rural business centers. So that's dope. And maybe Roby can get into those rural areas for sure. Hustle could get into those rural areas. Shout out to Oye out there in Phoenix, Arizona. Had a ball out there. I'm gonna get to some of your stuff in a second. Oh yeah, if you hear. Let's see, PBRA, that's a project-based rental assistance, 1.5 billion to preserve and improve safety conditions in properties receiving Section 8. So project-based is basically that subsidy is like stuck on the actual unit. It doesn't travel or move with the actual resident. I'm gonna drop my daggone pen. Okay, let's see. Second, let's see, flood insurance. Okay, they're gonna forgive 20 million in National Flood Insurance Program debt. I wish somebody would forgive my debt. I got student loan debt. I wish I could put this in the bill. Direct 600 million to support flood mapping, provide 600 million for FEMA to set up a men's tested assistant, all of this stuff. So right there, once you know, a lot of high-end agencies that a lot of us don't really tangle with on a day-to-day. One, we ain't got the capacity. Some of us so broke we can't pay attention. So we're gonna lose out right from the gate. Now, for those that have been working hard, diligent, doing everything to put one foot in front of the other, I believe this is the season that we can get something to grow our small businesses and our micro enterprises, particularly at least from commerce, and definitely if HUD really do what they need to do with Section 3, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So let's see. Now, here's interesting. $1 billion. So HUD themselves is getting $1 billion just the staff. It says program administration, need that, training, technical assistance, capacity building, and oversight. This section provides $1 billion to HUD to staff and oversee the administration of investments in this act. You would need to, because this is a lot. Now, here's the interesting part. So you can, anytime you don't see a place in a budget, they do not plan to even have the activity. And so far, since Section 3 has been enacted, there's never been an appropriation in HUD's budget to manage just that. Now, for something to be a real serious, you know, law, something so critical, something that can really empower the people that HUD serve, you would think that from the beginning, we would have always had its own separate department. There should be a whole Section 3 department. So what they do is take Section 3, they throw it over here to fair housing, and then throw it back to this department, that department. And I want to make sure, now this is where I have the pet peeve. If you're putting $1 billion in HUD, I had bet to see, for the grace of God, for the throne, get on the throne, I better see a Section 3 whole division, because I'm going to show you why. Somebody go get some coffee, some popcorn, because I'm going to show you why this right here for me is one of the most important. So I'm going to highlight it because we're going to come back. The $1 billion is for HUD to staff and oversee the administration of the investments and provide technical assistance to entities. So I guess, you know, hey. The section also provides funding for the HUD Inspector General, the USDA Inspector General, and the Treasury Inspector General. And so they could be making sure that some of these agencies are doing what they need to do. However, we're going to have to also keep some of these agencies accountable and compliant if we want to make sure that those monies come down. So we got a few more to go. Oh God, that looks like a whole lot. SBRA, let's go fast. $1 billion in project-based rental assistance program provides rental assistance to eligible household, but unlike the housing choice voucher, the assistance is fixed to the property rather than tied to the household. I thought we just went over that, but that's PBRA revitalization. So that's preserving and improving safety conditions in the properties, whereas this Section 8 PBRA is actual rental assistance. Fair housing, they're actually putting 700 million in the Fair Housing Initiatives Program, which supports local enforcement of fair housing rules. Well, that would be great if Section 3 was still under there, but it's no longer under there. They moved it. The section provides 100 million for the Fair Housing Assistance Program, which supports intergovernmental enforcement of housing laws. Okay, fine. The Defense Act, that's DOD. I don't really need to know about that, but it's here. Provides 500 million through the Defense Production Act to support domestic industrial base, including strengthening the resiliency of supply chains and critical industries and promote economic competitiveness. Now, whenever I see that word promote, that just means you're just going to tell people. You're just going to put it on a website somewhere. That don't mean you're going to enact nothing and do nothing. So I am not even, I'm not impressed with the word promote. The section provides 500 million for, what is this? Supportive housing for the disabled. Thank God. Section 811, let's see, 500 million provides project-based rental assistance. So we got this rental assistance. So people will not be losing homes. Let's say that. But guess what? It's one thing to get a low-income home. But for you, I want to be able to not just afford a low-income home and be low-income forever. It's one thing for me to get it. That's me. Now, if I'm disabled or I'm elderly, thank God I need it. But if I'm not, I don't want to be low income forever, on a subsidy forever. Like, help me get up, help me come up. Like, can I live? Let's see. Same for the elderly, supportive housing. That's, supportive services. It's probably Meals on Wheels type things, expand the supply of affordable housing with supportive services. So that could be a plethora of things, getting them to and from the hospital, whatever they need, whatever the elderly need to age in place with dignity. That is definitely what is it, 500 million? Okay, a few more. 25 million to the state small business credit. That's administered by the Department of Treasury to provide legal accounting and financial assistance to existing and prospective business enterprises within the factory-built housing. I believe that's like the modular housing sector applying for these loans. So maybe you want to get into the home factory-built housing sector. That's a thing. And it's going to have to be a thing because where's all these people going to live? We need more housing. So if you're going to increase the housing supply, you definitely going to have to get into the modular game on some front. So maybe you got some land, some property out there somewhere. Go out there and find out where this money is and go put some little, what they call them? Not the trailer. Don't say trailer homes. Who said that? Who said trailer park? Don't you say no trailer parks. I didn't say that. Trailer homes. Go to manufacture modular homes. What's the fancy words for modular? Yeah, go do that. Housing investment, 750 million to a new fund. There's a new fund here. I like new funds. Called the Housing Investment Fund with the CDFIs. This for you, OEA. 750 million to a new fund called the Housing Investment Fund within the Community Development Financial Institutions, which are called CDFIs. Now, if anybody knows what a CDFI is, they're basically these it's a community financial institution that pretty much will loan to more high-risk stakeholders, nonprofits, small businesses, where a traditional bank may be too hard to get access to those funds for one reason or another. It could be, you got to have all of this stuff. They take higher risk. They get the money with an interest rate that they got to pay back, and then they give it to us with a little upgrade on that interest rate. Either way, that risk, they have to do due diligence as well. However, somebody raised their hand. However, it's pretty critical that the CDFIs are supported, particularly minority-led CDFIs. I would love to see that. And I believe Oye from Hustle, we're going to take questions in a minute. From Hustle Phoenix, definitely they're in the process of becoming a CDFI. So I would definitely be looking at the Department of Treasury, this housing investment fund, see who's administering, what is happening. Then we have small dollar FHA mortgage demo, 100 million for HUD to carry out a pilot program to expand small dollar mortgage options to homeowners seeking to purchase affordable housing priced at 100,000 or less. Okay, where them homes at? What kind of homes is going to be 100,000? Where is that? Okay, maybe rural, all the way out there with the crickets. That's all you're going to be hearing out there for $100,000. I promise you. All right. Let's see. That's funny. Who else is HUD, 100 million in competitive grants to nonprofit entities to provide technical assistance, capacity building to community development corporations, community housing development organizations, community land trusts, and other mission-driven and nonprofit organizations. So I'm interested in that because maybe there is some money so where we can get someone can give us some capacity. So maybe someone will apply for that, and then we can go there and be one of those beneficiaries, and they can lend us some, you know, capacity. Don't know what that looks like, but I guess we'll find out. And then last but not least, the affordable housing access. This is like $10 billion to support affordable housing, enhanced mobility for low-income individuals, residents of disadvantaged or persistent poverty communities. Funds will be administered through a competitive process jointly established by the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, that's HUD, and the Federal Chancellor. So right here, it's just said a competitive process. So we already know a lot of our businesses are not even positioned to competitively compete with the rest of everybody else. So that's not hitting us. But we got to find out how can this $10 billion, you know, if that's us right here, it's low income individual, disadvantage and persistence to it says to support the access to affordable housing. What that mean? We're going to take a bus to the housing, but support access to affordable housing and enhance mobility, support the access to affordable housing. We got to get clarity on that. But it does say to support projects that provide access to affordable housing, improve mobility for low-income riders, and enhance access to job and educational opportunities and community services. So we got to figure out what this is. Enhance community services. We do community services. We have programming. We have educational opportunities, but I don't know if we can be found in this. Funds provided under this program will support the establishment of a new transit routes. Aha, there you go. The expansion of service areas, improve frequency on existing routes, and the provision of fare, free, and reduced fare transit. Now, here's the deal we need to know. First of all, we need to make sure that this stimulus packet, number one, everything in this bill must hit the Section 3. So let's talk about what Section 3, let me just really put this up here real quick. So here's a Section 3 fact sheet. I just want to just highlight some quick areas for you. You can still find this on canilive.org/Section 3. What is Section 3? First of all, it's a starting point to obtain job training, employment, contracting opportunities. It's an integral foundation coupled with other resources. And it's the opportunity for economic advancement. And so how does it promote ownership? It says it's the starting point to home ownership. Why? Because if you are a Section 3 resident, you should be able to get training to increase your capacity, or employment to get some type of experience, or contracting to get some kind of performance experience. So you, your business, or you yourself and your the head of your household can grow yourself financially, grow yourself out of poverty. That was the reason that Section 3 was actually established. And so I'm going to take some questions really quick in a minute. The type of opportunities available under Section 3 are job training, employment, contracting. And here are a host of examples of jobs in which trigger Section 3, from carpentry, everything that has to do with construction, to research and titling, architect. So there should be every firm that is going in for this redevelopment. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second because I want to take some questions. So for the firms that will be going to the housing, because the housing authorities get this money, and I promise you, they're going to have to bid a lot of these jobs out. And so everybody that submits that bid, every bid has to comply with Section 3. And every bid is going to have to, every bidder is going to have to submit a Section 3 plan as to how they plan to engage low-income residents. That's critical. And so I had a hand raised. Monette, we got a question. Ronald Bethea. You have a question?
Yes, we are sending out this to the people who registered for this webinar with this recording. Will you be sending this out?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay. So let's get back into it. So here's what I want you guys to see. So if you guys are familiar with Section 3 at all, you guys know that HUD is responsible. But guess what? We said we don't want to repeat the same mistakes from the last administration, not the Trump administration, the Obama administration. So what I have here, and I'm going to bring it up to the beginning, so you guys will know, all of these things are found on the canilive.org/section 3 website link. You can find all these documents. If you like to chew up and, regs and stuff, it's only a couple of us out there. So we are special. But this was the Office of Inspector General conducted this report for Section 3 in public housing back in 2013. In 2009, the American Recovery Reinvestment Act put out billions of dollars, and they put it to housing authority, but it was specifically to create jobs and training and access to opportunities for low-income residents. And I'm going to show you that in a second. However, HUD failed the report. And so let's go. We got some more questions, and I'm going to get to it in a second. So in a nutshell, I'm just going to put up real quick. What did the OIG found? It says right here, HUD did not enforce the reporting requirements of Section 3 under the Recovery Act of the Public Housing Capital Funds. So this is not the first time we've seen capital funds to the Housing Authority. Of course not. Specifically, HUD failed to collect Section 3 summary reports from all housing authorities by the required deadline and verify whether or not the reports was accurate. In addition, it did not even sanction the housing authorities that failed to submit the required reporting information. And as a result, 1,650 non-submitted housing authorities may have falsely certified the compliance. In addition, they did not provide HUD and the general public with adequate employment and contracting information. So here's the time that we should be FOIA-ing, Freedom of Information Act. It is a right to know. They are a government entity. If you want to find out where these numbers are, you should be asking for HUD's, that public housing 60,002 form. Now, the issue is they just changed the rules like last year. So the 60,002 summary report is not even the document that they need to report now. I believe it's like a web-based interface now that they have to report on. But either way, let's find out what happened the years before, because if the years before, y'all wasn't, it's called patterns of practice. If you didn't practice the mechanisms to make sure that low-income residents got access to these opportunities, what makes you think that $100 billion more dollars you're going to do it? Because what you do with the little shows what you're going to do with the much. You don't get a lot and do better. Get a lot and do exactly the same as you did when you ain't had nothing. So what did they recommend? They recommended that HUD implement a new HUD 60,002 submission, which they did. It just was enacted in 2020. They had to design a method to follow up on the missing and inaccurate information. I don't know where that is, what they did, where is those $26 million that may have been just like misused? Where is that fund? Give us that fund. I receive it in the name of Jesus. I receive that missing fund, wherever that dollar is. And I just love how dollars just get gone. But your dollars can't get gone because everybody got a piece of your dollars. Publish final regulations, which they did, require housing authority to support $26 million payment. Where that at? I need to find out where that's at. We need to ask her, where is that? Let's count that. Let's see that. Let's demand that at least the missed payments, or this $20 million and millions of payments from back then, these sanctions, let's make sure that goes to residents. Listen, we can make $1 out of 15 cents. So I don't know how many dollars we can make out of 26 million. I believe we could probably cover the whole daggone deficit of the nation. You give us $26 million because we good like that. Okay, so let's keep going. So what else? We also recommended that HUD establish policies and procedures that implement a system of escalating administrative measures. They did that, but now if you want to make a complaint on Section 3, you got to go back to the source in which you got the contract from. So if the housing authority gave a contract, you got to go back to the housing authority to enforce the contract. That's like what they call the fox watching the hen house. It is not appropriate. And you about to get $1 billion, HUD, not appropriate. No, go back to the drawing board, rewrite the rule, write it again. Just because you got a rule and you read it the first time, go write it again. And then we need to make sure that they do write it again. To establish a methodology to incorporate Section 3 compliance and risk assessment. That just sounds like something real fancy. I know what it means, but it don't mean nothing. Section 3 is HUD's policy for providing preference to low and very low income residents and the businesses that employ them. Section 3 residents live in the community where applicable funds are spent. Section 3 businesses substantially employ these residents for new employment, training, and contractor opportunity created for the use of covered HUD funds. Each recipient and its contractors, subcontractors, or sub-recipients are required to comply with the requirements of Section 3 to the greatest extent feasible. The greatest extent feasible says you need to do more than just do. You need to go all the way out, stretch, go out beyond, up, down to make sure that these opportunities are given to residents. And sending a little e-blast like 5 minutes before the proposal due is unacceptable. But that's okay. We got you. We got you covered on that one. So here is the little space where it says in 2009, February 17, the president signed the American Recovery and Investment Act, which included $4 billion appropriation in its capital funds. The first and most important goal of the Recovery Act was to preserve and create jobs and promote economic recovery. Same thing as now, except for, it's like housing too. Since the Recovery Act funding was specifically intended to create jobs and other economic opportunities for those most impacted by the recession, compliance with the requirements of Section 3 was critical and critically failed. Our audit objective was to determine if HUD enforced the requirements of the Section 3 program for the Recovery Act Public Housing Capital Funds recipients. They did not, and no, did not happen. Okay, it didn't happen. They didn't even say why. Okay, so keep reading. In addition, it did not even sanction housing authorities that failed to submit the required reporting. Each housing authority is responsible for submitting the form, which is no longer the thing. They don't have to submit that form now, as of last year, but they're still required nonetheless to report what they've done. And we're going to show some of the shenanigans that was actually reported. It says it requires the housing authorities submit this form by January 10th of every year. The requirements of Section 3 apply to all housing authorities, regardless of the size, regardless of the number of units, except those that administer only Section 8. So of them, it says the Fair Housing did not verify the accuracy of the forms or follow up on clearly uncompliant information. For example, 36 HUD 60,002 submissions reported that more Section 3 jobs created than the total number of jobs. So whoever, they know got the interns filling out these forms, obviously, because ain't nobody with no real skill, understanding, and competency and no Section 3 filling out these forms. They don't tell anybody, go fill that form out. Don't nobody care. HUD don't care. Just go fill the damn form out and send it up. Just go press submit. Hurry up. One housing authority reported 26 total new hires, but then said there was no Section 3 hires. That's okay. Let me do this. Okay. Another reported 11 total new hires and no Section 3 hires. Another reported it awarded more than 170 million in total construction contracts and 257 million in non-construction contracts. None of them went to Section 3 businesses. It says right here, none of which went to Section 3 business concerns. Since the goal for construction contracts is 10% and 3% for non-construction contracts, it should have awarded at least 24 million in contracts to Section 3 businesses. Yep. Let's go. Maybe we can keep going. Another reported that it awarded more than 12 million in total construction contract. None went to Section 3. It should have awarded at least 1.2 million in construction contracts. Two reported that they each awarded 1.5 in non-construction contracts, none of which went to Section 3 businesses. Each should have awarded at least 45,000 in non-construction. 45,000 non-construction, that's professional services, that's education, that's training, because that's what it says. Training, employment, contracting, and other economic opportunities, meaning you can make it up. You can have a bingo night if you want to. I'm being facetious, I'm being funny, but you can make it up. So why are these dollars not coming into our communities? We should be outraged. And I know you are, and I know that you have absolutely been, squawking about it, and we've all been yelling about it, but guess what? We've been yelling separate and apart. We have not collectively put our voices together to yell and say that we want this specific thing. And so that is over. In all these cases, the housing authorities did not provide on their summary reports any justifications for failing to meet the Section 3 thresholds. FHEO lacked a collective system able to identify missing and inaccurate reports, and it did not have procedures to follow up on submissions to refer to PIH any non-compliant housing authorities. Where has that system changed? I promise you, it's not this. You could create the system, the mechanism was already there, the form, fill out the form, but the practices were not. That's why it never got enacted. That's why none of the monies came down to us. And that's why to this day, we have no solid reporting mechanisms that can even show where this money is going. And that's why I know if things do not change, ladies and gentlemen, we will not see one red cent. And I promise you, y'all better not cry to your Jesus, your Allah, your God, talk about you want more opportunity, you want money, you want this, you want that. And it's telling you in your face where it's going and what are we going to do about it. So like I just hyped up everybody right there. Like, yeah, let's do something. It allowed data entry errors in the housing authority's name, location, grant number, grant amount fields. It did not allow housing authorities to view their previous forms. Okay, it didn't produce immediate reports to let FHEO management know which housing authorities had not even submitted the report. So the system you had wasn't even effective. It wasn't efficient. Why? Because you didn't care. Because you had no real intentions on making this a thing. And so you better believe if you have an OIG report from 2013, it's not even 10 years. These systems and patterns of practice has not changed. So what we're going to do about it? So we can go on and on. I think I'm gonna stop there because let me just stop sharing. Ronald, you still got a question? Hold on. And we got another question. Rizwano? Listen to me. I'm trying to pronounce the name. Rizwano Haki. Oh, I'm terrible with names, you guys. Sorry. Rizwano.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. Well, how do you pronounce your name?
First name is Ronald. Last name is Bethay.
Oh, Ronald Bethay. Yes.
Yeah. And
you have another question?
Yeah, my question is there anything in there for implementing agreed economic development plan for the African American community across this country?
An agreed African American economic plan?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
But let me say this. I doubt that to be true, but I don't want to say no for sure. I pretty much doubt it to be true, only because we only have the housing provisions of it. So there's other provisions like you might have what the SBA is going to do. Everybody got a piece. What DOT, Department of Transportation, Department of Labor, Department of Defense, everybody got a piece of the action. We counted NCRC for us. Now I will tell you that NCRC would be probably best positioned to answer that question because even though they are watchdog to the banks, they are critical in creating those community development, like community benefits agreements, they call CBAs, for when banks are going to merge together. And I'm sure some money's in here somehow has to hit NCRC in some way. So we'll be happy to make a connection with NCRC to make sure that somebody is, in order to have that happen, Ronald, someone has to be leading the charge for a national agenda for African American families.
Well, my organization we are already doing that. That's why I raised the question, because I didn't hear anything from the Department of Energy. And I know that there's billions of dollars that want to be put out in here for workforce development training through EDA, Economic Development Administration. And they just put out like $300 billion. And I doubt if one African-American organization even applied for that. They got 60 organizations that they've already selected. People can get that information on my website at positivechangepc.com. No, it was $1 billion for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge. So they got $1 billion that they've already gone out the door. So you're 2,000% correct. The money is going out the door. Our communities and most of our communities are positioned to get.
So the name of your business is called, the name of your organization is called Positive Change PC?
PositiveChangePC.com.
And what can we get from your website? We're gonna be able to get what?
You can get the information on the monies that have come out of the Economic Development Administration. It's $1 billion for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge. There's also information about the $700 million in the BRIC program for hazardous storms and mediations coming out of FEMA. So there's quite a bit of information on my news and events tab.
Okay. So we will definitely check it out. We appreciate you coming, and we have to find a way to create this together. So your organization creating a national agenda for African Americans?
Yes, it's called the National Association of Black and Solar. The other I was saying the other organization that I run is called the National Association of Blacks and Solar, and we work with all the African American-based and African renewable energy companies across the U.S. So we have quite a bit of activity that we have going on right now, looking at how to apply for some of this money. You're correct. We have to come together to go after this funding.
I love that. National Association of Blacks in Solar. Never knew that was a thing. So if you guys are listening, Ronald, I'm gonna mute you for a second, but I'm gonna make sure I got your information, and everybody who is registered will get the link to this podcast, and we will host it on our canilive.org podcast page. So you'll always be able to get it. But I want to make sure that the National Association, maybe that's Rizwan. Maybe that's why the National Association of Blacks in Solar. I never knew that was a thing. That needs to be a thing. We should be definitely, if you are in energy, if you are connected to solar, if you want to learn solar, let's get together, look up that research, do your due diligence research, find out how we can, band together. I will share in a minute some information on how I believe we could get this thing started. Is a lot of us already on the front lines doing the work. It's just connecting the work together. Rizwano, did I even say that name right?
Yes, you did.
Oh, is that you? You both of them? Rizwano Hawkins?
No, I'm just Ronald Bethay. I don't know my name.
Okay, so somebody else is asking to speak. So hold on.
Yeah, let me mute my mic. Go right ahead.
Okay, perfect. Rizwano, I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Exactly.
What is it? Say that again.
Correct. Rizwanul Haq.
Okay. Yep. Rizwanul Haq. Got it. How are you today? You raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Yes. In fact, I'm working for United Planning Organization, and we are working towards affordable housing project in DC for low-income residents of DC. So, will UPO be able? Yes.
What is it?
www.upo.org.
I'm gonna need. Can you put that in the chat? Can you put that in the chat so we can write that down? Because we're having a difficult time understanding you, and we're getting some feedback. But you do affordable housing redevelopment here in DC?
Yes.
Oh, you with UPO?
Right.
Is that the United Planning? Or let me see UPO.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. I know UPO. Let's see, upo.org. Yeah. Well, let me make sure it's the same UPO. I know. I only know really one.
It's only one.
But what do you do with them?
I'm a procurement manager, procurement officer, but we are working as a team. Yes.
And you guys are doing some redevelopment here in DC. Okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So we gotta work. We gotta. I see you guys all the time. United Planning Organization. That's you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you wanted to share that you guys are. So what part of money are you guys positioned to try to take a piece of? Like what part of the money of the Build Back Better do you think you guys could qualify for?
I have no idea. I'm just asking questions.
Oh, well, definitely. I'm on your website. You guys do housing counseling, so you guys will be positioned for that. Um, and you guys are you guys been around for a while. You guys get a lot of funding too. And so
Yes.
I don't think you guys will have a problem getting any of some of this money. You guys will be way better positioned than we are. So we would love to work with you in some capacity to see how maybe there's some synergy on partnership and where we could maybe go after some dollars as a, collaborative. That's another thing. I think that is going to be important. As well, I'm going to mute you. I think it's going to be important for many of us to, this is the opportunity to definitely um, work together in a collaborative state in going after some of this grant money. Many of our African American businesses, small businesses, micro enterprises, MBE, CBE, ABC, all of those disadvantaged businesses, hub businesses, a lot of us have limits in capacity. And while there are some that have greater capacities, I'm asking to put a call out to the MBEs, to the CBEs, to those that have greater capacities to partner with resident owned businesses in public housing that have to meet this Section 3 requirement, because we are going to be on it. I promise you, we are going to be on it, and I'm going to show you how. So here is, I'm going to share my screen. So what we have coming up, because I told you we are about that solution and not the problem. We have a Section 3 Expo coming March 31st, 2022, and it is to support the resident-owned business incubator. So in order for you are in public housing or Section 8 or any just low income, if you receive any kind of, government assistance, food stamps, TANF, Medicaid, all of it, you would be a Section 3 resident. Typically, some people who receive any kind of subsidy, if you are low income, you qualify for Section 3. You qualify as a Section 3 resident or recipient, and you should have access to these opportunities. Like I said, it's training and employment. It may be, my thing is, if they know the opportunities is coming, there's no such thing as, oh, I couldn't find anybody qualified. You could put a training program together. You can actually contract and partner with Can I Live, and we can do the training, and we will hire somebody to train them so that they can work in your firm. So there is no excuses, no excuses. So I just want to let you guys know, because we plan to, like chop this podcast up and repurpose it in a few different ways. If you guys are serious about economic inclusion, about justice, about having a more just economy, about having a socially and economically just society, you cannot just say it. You have to do it. And if $26 million should have been in the hands of the lowest, most vulnerable families in the United States, and it hasn't been done, and you're afraid to do it because you get money from HUD, then shame on you. You are fighting this battle half-cocked, unprepared, ill will, and you just shouldn't be fighting at all, because you're not really fighting for residents. You're fighting for self-preservation, to preserve yourself. Because justice has never been hard. People have died to be where they are, where we are today as a nation. And so it's important that we take this fight all the way. And it's already happening. People are fed up. People are tired. People are doing something different. The tide has changed. So I'm really open, hoping to give partners an opportunity to step up to the plate. We have the Section 3 platform. It's our expo coming up. And basically, we're going to help you meet your compliance. We have a partnership that you partner with us. You pay your level, your partnership level. You get an exhibit booth, and you can upload all your contracts or your bids. You could do videos. You could do meet and greets. You could do private, communities with our members. And now you can really take greatest extent efforts to a whole nother level. And so we need as many entities, Section 3 enterprises as well, having your businesses on our virtual platform. It's a virtual platform with booths, kiosks, and this is the place where it's like a contractor's hall. It's training, employment, where opportunities connect. We have a Midwest, a West Coast. We have at the end of the year National Public Housing Business Expo, because we want to make sure that all of this money, where the money resides, hey, it's residing right in public housing. We want to make sure where that money is residing, that we could connect them with the construction firms, with the excavation firms, the moving, the demolition. We want to make sure that the residents that are about to get their Section 8 vouchers, if you want to buy a home, start positioning yourself now. I would tell you, here's a secret. If I was out there, I would be like creating a whole moving company. Get your moving company up on here. You better go get some vans because it's going to be some people moving, and get in on this action. However, you need to get in here. But whatever you do, make sure you do it with excellence. Make sure you do it with integrity, and make sure you do it with love. But definitely go to Roby Connect. Monette, I'm going to put this link in the chat for everybody. Let's see where my chat at. Definitely be in the building. We're going to be breaking Section 3 down, and we're going to hopefully, prayerfully have some vendors and some contractors who meet the Section 3 requirements, who have opportunities. All of this money coming down, these partners should be coming through the door saying, hey, we got jobs. Hey, we got training and contracting opportunities. Hey, we got this. And coming right here with Roby Connect to make that thing a thing. We got the registration. If you are a low-income public housing Section 8 resident, you register for free. We ask that you go to the website, you download our social media toolkit, rep your city. And absolutely, if you are a housing authority, click on the partnership tab. If you are pressed, you get to register for free. Here are some of our past agency partners. So we are all about that partnership. We're all about fairness and justice. And we believe that there are housing authorities out there that really want to see residents thrive. And so we're hoping that with this new development, egos, pride, and everybody trying to build a portfolio, well, I'm going to need residents to understand, get on a good foot, take responsibility for your own financial future, get in that driver's seat, and make sure the outcomes for you and your family, your legacy. Why? Because poverty is not our legacy. We cannot pass a Section 8 voucher on to our children. We cannot pass down an EBT card or food stamps. And we need to be building wealth for our children's children so that they don't inherit the fight that we are going to win or lose. So are we going to win this battle in poverty? I hope so. So please, 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 whatever you do, the resident-owned business incubator, this is the Roby Connect. Resident-owned business is Roby. We have a pitch competition happening on that day as well. You can actually go to canilive.org/Roby. I'm going to put that in the chat too. This is our 12-week entrepreneurial bootstrapping boot camp, where we're going to not only teach you the basics, but we license small businesses. We license you to do business. So you go to class, you do the work, you graduate, and you're going to graduate with a business plan, business license. You're going to graduate with your, website hosting. You can build your own website. We give you the tools to at least launch. And we're hoping to, we got some partnerships coming up. We got some banging news that we can't reveal yet. But when I tell you this thing is about to go to a whole nother level in 2022, it is indeed. So I need all of you guys to make sure, if you don't do anything else, stay abreast of Section 3, stay abreast of the resident-owned business incubator, register for the Section 3 Expo. And if you don't do anything else, be sure to share this podcast with your network, because it's some good stuff. And I'm not just telling you about the problem, I'm actually giving you actual solutions. And so I don't know if we have any other questions out there from the audience. Any questions, Monette, on Facebook, on the live stream? I feel like I just said, I know I probably said like 50,000 words.
We don't have any questions on the live stream.
Okay. No more questions here in the.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Everyone that is here, don't forget to copy those websites down: robyconnect.com, canilive.org. Follow us on Facebook, Can I Live. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Our podcast is also on YouTube, so you can always access it there.
Ask Rizwani Haq, if you could put your email and phone number in the chat, that would be great, because I would really like to make contact with you. Also, Ronald Bethea, if you're still on, put your contact information. You could send it to the whole group, or you could just send it to me. Either way, it's up to you. If you could put your information in the chat for me, so we can reach out, make some contact. I would really like to learn more about your organizations and what you do, and to see how we can actually work together and partner. So if we are all good, all clear, I think we are at the end of our time for our podcast. I want to thank everybody for coming out to join us today on the Can I Live podcast. You could tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to see us live and direct. I'm not sure what we're talking about next week, but whatever it is, it's going to be food for thought, and it's just going to be some juicy information and just our whole plan on how we plan to actually, take this thing. I just believe that there is a way. I believe that we will not just be destroyed in poverty. We will not. We have a God that has not forsaken us, and He has given us solutions and strategies, and those solutions and strategies are coming to the forefront in this next season. So I thank you guys for joining us. I ask you guys to just have a good night. Thank you for a great presentation. Thank you so much, Rizwanul from UPL. Shout out to UPL. They do good work here in the district, and we hope to be able to partner with you guys to continue that work. Can I Live is doing great things, and we look forward to doing great things with you. You guys have a wonderful night.